Hi there, my name is Andrea, and this is High Literature, a program where I introduce stories and art to you, my friends. Um, it's been a while, and I could spend all night talking about why. Not going to. We're just going to keep on keeping on. So, last I left off, we were talking about what I've been calling the Forgotten Mother in the Hunchback of Notre Dame by Victor Hugo, one of the greatest writers ever to walk the earth. And I was talking about how when I first read this book, I was so surprised at how there is no mention, like when you hear about this story, whether the book or the movie, the Disney animation, whatever, everybody, there are different like talking points that people refer to when it comes to this story, but nobody ever talks about the mother. And when I read this book, it was just so surprising to me how you never hear about the mother in this book because she is so central to everything that happens in this story. So yeah, I've been going over this book with the focus being on the mother. Now, in the past videos, I was talking about like basically the origin of Cloud Frollo, who is the priest who took in Quasimodo as a foundling when he was left on the steps of Notre Dame. And then I talked about basically like the origin story of Quasimodo. And now we're going to talk about I'm trying to think of like the most linear way, and it's difficult because of how the way certain things happen simultaneously. So this is about the mother, but it also entails, because she is central to the story, Quasimodo and Esmeralda. So in this particular chapter, this chapter is called The Story of a Wheaten Cake. Now, the wheaten cake, it's basically, for the sake of simplicity, we're just going to, it's a loaf of bread. And this group of people, these friends, they are basically on a mercy mission, I guess we can call it, where they're taking this loaf of bread to a character that is known in the story as the Recluse. Now, the Recluse is this old woman who harasses, heckles, just makes life a living hell for Esmeralda, being that the reason that the Recluse heckles Esmeralda so much and hates her so much is because Esmeralda is a gypsy, and this Recluse, as we're about to find out, she was once a mother, but had her baby stolen and believed to be eaten by gypsies. So this woman, she thinks her baby was stolen. She thinks that it was stolen by gypsies and that the gypsies ate the baby. So she hates gypsies. So anytime she sees Esmeralda, she just, heckles her and yells at her and just makes her life miserable. So these people are going to see the Recluse. She's also known as Sister Gudule. She's also known as the Sachet, which is in reference to like the sackcloth that she wears. And so these people, as they're making their way to see the Recluse, one of the women, Mahiette, as they're passing Esmeralda, she kind of grabs up her son, and the friends are noticing her doing this, and they're like, why'd you do that? What are you worried about your son with Esmeralda? She's great. Everybody loves her. And Mahia starts to tell them this story about this woman who in her hometown lost her child to gypsies. And so she's sharing this story with these friends about this woman. Let's see here. Her name is Paquette Chantefleury. And she's this poor woman, had a hard life, but she has this baby. And this baby is her pride and joy. Beautiful baby, well-behaved baby, and there is a lot of focus on how much she especially loved, and you hear this a lot, like with mothers, she just really loved her baby's, little feet. And when the baby was taken and gone missing, the only thing that was left that she could find was one of her shoes. So she, just became obsessed with the shoe. The shoe was the only thing left of her daughter. And at the same time, while her daughter is missing and she's like trying to find the daughter, she finds in the baby's place a hideous little monster, blind, lame, deformed, squalling, and crawling about the brick floor. He seemed to be about 4 years old and spoke a language which was no human tongue. Such words were quite impossible. Chantefleury flung herself upon the little shoe, all that was left of all that she had loved. She lay there so long, motionless, silent, apparently not breathing, that the neighbors thought she must be dead. Suddenly she trembled from head to foot, covered her precious relic with frantic kisses, and burst into sobs as if her heart were broken. I assure you that we all wept with her. She said, "Oh, my little girl, my pretty little girl, where are you?" And that would have wrung your hearts. I cry now when I think of it. Our children, you see, are the very marrow of our bones. So this woman, she's relating the story of Chantefleury finding her daughter missing, finding in place of her daughter nothing but a shoe and a 4-year-old child that is not hers. And as they're making their way, they're talking about, oh, well, whatever became of this woman, and Mahiet saying no one knows. There's rumors that she drowned herself in the river, and oh, what happened with the little shoe? Oh, it disappeared with the mother. And what about the monster? Oh, what monster? The little gypsy monster left by the witches in Chantefleury's room in exchange for her daughter. What did you do with it? And so I really hope you drowned it. Not a bit of it, replied Mahiet. What? You burned it then. After all, that was better, a sorcerer's child. Now, if you'll remember, that's what they were calling Quasimodo. They were saying he was a sorcerer's child. They were talking about burning him. And so she's telling them, nobody knows what happened to the mother. They think she drowned. And as far as this monster child, my lord the archbishop took an interest in the gypsy child. He exorcised it, blessed it, carefully took the devil out of the boy's body, and sent him to Paris to be exposed upon the wooden bed at Notre Dame as a foundling. So I'm sure we've all figured out by now that this baby that got switched with Chantefleury's baby was Quasimodo. And this baby that was the pretty little baby with the pretty little feet and whose shoe was left behind is Esmeralda. So you see how it all ties together? It's just like the tragedy. There's just so many layers to the tragedy. So these people are just, on their little stroll, bringing this loaf of bread to the recluse, talking about this story about this poor woman who lost her baby to gypsies. Meanwhile, okay, so they get to the recluse and they're trying to get her attention. And she's just, the recluse, she's just, in a trance. Let's see here. This figure, which seemed rooted to the ground, appeared to have neither motion, thought, nor breath. In that thin sackcloth in January, lying half naked on a granite floor without fire in the darkness of a dungeon whose slanting window never admitted the sun, only the icy blast, she did not seem to suffer or even feel. She seemed to have been turned to stone like her cell, to ice like the season. Her hands were clasped, her eyes were fixed. At the first glance, she seemed a specter, at the second, a statue. And yet, at intervals, her blue lips were parted by a breath and trembled, but they seemed as dead and as destitute of will as leaves blowing in the wind. Yet her dull eyes gazed with an ineffable expression, a deep, mournful, serious, perpetually fixed expression on a corner of the cell hidden from those outside. Her look seemed to connect all the somber thoughts of her distressed soul with some mysterious object. So Mahiette put her head through the iron bars and at last contrived to get a glimpse of the corner upon which the unhappy woman's eyes were forever riveted. When she withdrew her head from the window, her face was bathed in tears. "What is that woman's name?" she asked. "We call her Sister Gudule." "And I," returned Mahiette, "I call her Paquette Chanteau-Fleury." So she just dropped a bomb on all her friends. She's been telling all her friends this crazy story about this woman named Paquette who lost her child. Meanwhile, they're on their way to visit this woman that these people call the recluse to bring her a loaf of bread. And now they're putting together that these two people are one and the same. The recluse is Paquette Chanteau-Fleury. And she is just lost in grief. She is completely disassociated from the world. All she can think about is her missing child and her hatred for gypsies. Meanwhile, so it's so crazy. So she hates Esmeralda because she believes, she just associates her with gypsies. And the very next chapter is called A Tear for a Drop of Water. And this chapter is probably the scene from the story that people are most familiar with. It's when Quasimodo is on the pillory and Esmeralda brings him water. And it's just really... So the first time Quasimodo and Esmeralda meet is when Quasimodo is trying to kidnap her. And the reason that he's trying to kidnap her is because Claude Frollo tells him to. And the reason Claude Frollo tells him to is because he's obsessed with Esmeralda, even though she wants nothing to do with him. So he's so obsessed with her that he has Quasimodo attempt to kidnap her. He fails, and in his failure, he's now being punished in the pillory. And it's just written in such a way where, he's being tortured. It's a really graphic scene. I'm not going to read it. It's awful. But he's being tortured, and we're dealing with somebody who is practically blind. He's deaf. He can't speak very well. So not only is he being tortured, but he doesn't know why. And that just makes the suffering and the indignity of what he's going through so much worse. And then as he's crying out for water and seeing all these laughing, mocking faces, laughing even more, mocking him even more, while he's suffering for, as far as he's concerned, no reason at all. He has no idea what's going on or why it's happening. Esmeralda comes up and he sees her, and his first reaction, like his first thought and feeling, like he just feels hatred, he feels fear, because as far as he knows, his only interaction with this woman was trying to kidnap her. And then, because, you know, his master told him to. He doesn't know why. He's just doing what his master tells him to. Doing what the only person who's ever shown him a shred of care, that's who he's listening to. So he sees Esmeralda approaching him, and he is just transformed when this person that he believes is going to have nothing but hatred for him, considering that his only interaction with her was to try and kidnap her. She's the one who brings him water. And it just completely transforms him. He immediately, I don't want to say he falls in love with her, because it's not a romantic feeling or a lustful feeling or a possessive feeling. He's just feeling so relieved, so astonished at somebody being kind to him. It's not something he's ever experienced before. And you'll remember in the last video when we were talking about Frollo, even Claude, who was kind to him, it was from a place of selfishness. To his way of thinking, he was banking on the goodwill of God in case his wayward younger brother like fumbled along the way. Then Frollo's care of Quasimodo would go towards, you know, giving his brother a pass. So even Frollo, as good as he was to Quasimodo, it wasn't without an agenda. Whereas Esmeralda, no agenda, just genuine compassion. And Quasimodo never experienced this before in his entire existence. And it just completely changed his thoughts and feelings towards this person. Anyway, I'm digressing a little. It's hard not to, because it's the very next chapter that takes place after we find out the true identity of the recluse. She's the mother of Esmeralda and the scourge of Esmeralda. Because like I said, she makes Esmeralda's life miserable. So we have Paquette, gives birth, has a baby girl, loves this baby girl. And then the baby is kidnapped, taken by gypsies, and replaced with Quasimodo. She doesn't want Quasimodo, who's not even named Quasimodo at the time. Frollo gives him that name, but this baby is now taken as a foundling to Paris and is raised by Frollo in Notre Dame. So now, let me pull up my notes. It's just now we get so it's in this chapter, It's Here for a Drop of Water, that we have for the first time these three characters. We have together, we have Quasimodo in the pillory. We have Paquette the recluse watching on, along with all the rest of the townspeople, because when somebody was in the pillory being tortured, being executed, being hung, whatever, it was like a public event and everybody came to watch. And we have Esmeralda also, in part of the public, but a voice of compassion. And oh boy. Now we're going to get to the chapter. Oh boy. Called The Little Shoe. So So Frollo had Quasimodo attempt to kidnap Esmeralda. Why? Because he's obsessed with her. Why? I don't know. Sometimes men just become obsessed with women, and no matter how much that woman says, leave me alone, they don't. So Frollo just cannot let this go. This woman, all she wants to do is just dance with her little goat and share her joy, and she can't because this old man just will not accept her no. And when she's out with a man that she does like, and he's a total cad, Frollo sees this, so jealous, just enraged with jealousy, and he tries to kill this man. Fails, but in all the hullabaloo that happens, he stages things in such a way that the takeaway from the scene is that Esmeralda tried to kill this man. And so now she is getting ready to be hung. So she's locked up in an oubliette, waiting to be hung. He makes one more attempt to try and get her to come with him. And she says again, no. And to which he replies, then die. And this is while so this is hard to explain, but the recluse, she's in a cell, but it's not like your traditional jail cell that you would imagine. It's kind of like this voluntary cell that people go to basically to self-flagellate. And being such a creature of misery, missing her child, she put herself in one of these cells. And throughout this story, it has been made well known to both the reader and to the characters in this book that the recluse hates Esmeralda. So when Frollo makes one last attempt to try and get Esmeralda to fall in love with him, like, I don't know when forcing anybody ever worked, but he tries, and again, she's like, no, no, no. So he cries out to the recluse, here's your gypsy girl, avenge yourself. And he drags Esmeralda to that cell. A fleshless arm was thrust from the loophole in the wall and held her with an iron grip. Hold her fast, said the priest. It's the runaway gypsy. Do not let her go. I'll fetch the officers and you will see her hanged. So now the recluse thinks, finally, I got this gypsy woman who is the source of all my pain and suffering from stealing my beloved baby all those years ago. So the recluse has Esmeralda. Frollo is running away to go get the police so they can grab her and hang her because she doesn't love him and he's just salty about it. And the recluse is just so happy. And Esmeralda's just like, oh my God, what did I do? Why does everybody hate me? I just wanted to dance with my little goat. And so Esmeralda and the recluse, they're just fighting, and the recluse is just spitting poison at her, and Esmeralda's just like, what did I do to you? Who are you? I don't know who you are. Mercy, mercy, let me go. And the recluse is like, give me back my child. And the mother, so she's saying, here's her shoe, all that's left of me. Do you know where the mate to it is? If you know, tell me. And if it is only at the other end of the world, I will go on my knees to get it. So saying, with her other hand stretched through the bars, she showed the gypsy the little embroidered shoe. It was already light enough to distinguish the shape and colors. Show me that shoe, said the gypsy, shuddering. My God, my God. And at the same time, with her free hand, she hastily opened the little bag adorned with green glass beads which she wore around her neck. That's it, growled Gajul. Search for your devilish spells. And all at once she stopped short, trembled from head to foot, and cried out in a voice which came from her inmost soul, my daughter. The gypsy had drawn from the bag a tiny shoe, precisely like the one the recluse had. A strip of parchment was fastened to the little shoe, upon which these verses were written. When the mate to this you find, thy mother is not far behind. Quick as a flash of lightning, the recluse compared the two shoes, read the inscription on the parchment, and pressed her face, beaming with divine rapture, to the window bars, exclaiming, my daughter, my daughter. Mother, replied the gypsy. And that's how they reunite. The wall and the iron grating parted the two. Oh, the wall, cried the recluse. Oh, to see her and not to kiss her. Your hand, your hand. The girl put her arm through the window. The recluse threw herself upon the hand, pressed her lips to it, and stood lost in that kiss, the only sign of life being an occasional sob which heaved her bosom. Yet she wept torrents of tears in silence, in the darkness like rain falling in the night. The poor mother poured out in floods upon that idolized hand the dark, deep fountain of tears within her heart, into which all her grief had filtered drop by drop for 15 years. Suddenly she rose, flung her long gray hair back from her face, and without a word began to shake the bars of her cell more fiercely than a lioness. They held firm. Then she brought from one corner a large paving stone which served as her pillow, and hurled it against them with such violence that one of them broke, flashing countless sparks. A second blow utterly destroyed the old iron cross which barricaded her window. Then with both hands she pulled out and demolished the rusty fragments. There are moments when a woman's hands seem endowed with supernatural strength. A passage being cleared, and it took less than a minute to do the work, she seized her daughter by the waist and dragged her into the cell. Come, let me draw you out of the abyss, she murmured. I like how they wrote that. She dragged her into the cell while she said, "Let me draw you out of the abyss." And I think that really demonstrates how home is where the heart is. You know, it doesn't matter the surroundings, doesn't matter where you are. When you're with your heart, it doesn't matter where you are. When her daughter was in the cell, she placed her gently on the ground, then took her up again, and bearing her in her arms as if she were still her sweet little Agnes, because that was the name that she gave her when she was a baby. She paced to and fro in the narrow space, frantic, mad with joy, singing, shouting, kissing her daughter, talking to her, bursting into laughter, melting into tears, all at once and with the utmost passion. My daughter, she cried. I found my daughter. Here she is. And it just goes on like this, just this long monologue of just ecstasy. She made her 1,000 other extravagant speeches, their only merit being in the tone in which they were uttered, disordered the poor girl's dress until she made her blush, smoothed her silken hair with her hand, kissed her foot, her knee, her forehead, her eyes, went into ecstasies over each and all. The young girl made no resistance, but repeated ever and anon, in a low tone with infinite sweetness, "Mother." And I'm going to stop this here because it gets really, 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 really bad after this. Like, it's so bad. I remember when I first read this book and I was talking about it to my sister, I made her cry. And my sister don't cry. I'm the crier. I actually made her mad. She was like, "Oh my God, you just made me cry." But yeah, this happy reunion does not last long. And that's what I mean when I was saying before in the other videos about this book. This is, like, don't get me wrong, Les Miserables, such a sad story. But it's also really, 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 really beautiful and has a wonderful ending. This is nothing but a tragedy. There is no happy ending. It is one of the most sad books I have ever read in my life. But you should still read it because despite it being so sad, it is a great adventure story. It's like, this book will have you on the edge of your seat and will make you sweat. It's just a beautifully written story, albeit the tragedy. Yeah, I don't think I've ever read anything more tragic before in my life. This takes the taco. I don't want to tell you how it ends, even though I really want to. Oh, I'm so bad about spoilers. I don't care about spoilers. Like, I read ahead. I don't care. I actually sometimes prefer them because it kind of helps me brace for what's going to happen. But yeah, this is a really, really good book, and you should absolutely read it. It's I'll tell you this much. The goat lives. How about that? I'll give you that happy ending. The goat does not die. Almost did. The goat was supposed to be hung for witchcraft, but rescued. She was rescued, so the goat lives. Yay. Oh my gosh. Yeah, they come to get Esmeralda and the mother. She tries so hard to save her. Mm, mm, mm. It's so sad. It's so interesting. It's like, I wonder why that part of the story isn't talked about. And I guess it's because it's kind of complicated. It's like I actually was looking yesterday. I was trying to find my dry erase board because I was thinking I'm gonna have to like do like a chart with like arrows and stuff connecting to like try and create the whole picture and tie it all together because it's complicated. Like in my notes here, I have the pages written down for Quasimodo's origin, Esmeralda's origin, and then the origin of Sister Gajul / Paquette La Chantefleurie / the Recluse. And then when they all converge together at the pillory. And it's just a testament to what a great writer Victor Hugo is because, you know, when I talk about it, it's so like clumsy and clunky, and I'm doing it like over several videos, so it probably loses its cohesiveness. And sorry about that, but yeah, I do what I can with the time I got. But it's just, I promise you, it doesn't it's he the man spins a good tale. So you should definitely read this book. It's just a really fascinating story about compassion and the power of kindness, not even so much the power of love, but the power of kindness. Like, how many people do I know who I would say they're a nice person, but they're not a kind person? There is a big difference between being nice and being kind. And this book really breaks down the power of kindness and compassion for the powerless, and how blind people can become who have power. And not just have power, but came into it so easily and so freely. Like it's not even something that they can appreciate having. And they like lack of appreciation to the point of lack of awareness. Like they're not even aware of the position of power that they're in. And it enables a lot of cruelty and hubris. And it's just, it's a really fascinating story about like faults and virtues and the importance of virtues and how just a little bit of virtue can go such a long way. Well, I could just sit here and think and blabber for a while, and I probably shouldn't. So I'm going to go ahead and end this here. And there's so much I want to say, but I'm going to hold my tongue. All right, you guys. Yeah. Okay. You all have a good night, and I will be back soon, and things hopefully will get better. And yeah, okay. All right. Okay. Yep. Yep. All right. This is so difficult. I just want this to be a positive space for myself, most of all, and for the people that take the time to watch these. I don't ever want this to feel like a waste of time, or for people to come away feeling badly. So I guess I'll just say thank you for spending your time, and I hope that things will continue to get better. Yep. Okay. I think that's a good note to end this on. Okay. I'll see you guys soon.